winding onto a bobbin. Start off with the thread up on this back pole, goes down the front and around this little metal piece here and goes up to about there. We take a bobbin, and there's 4 holes, but the little tiny one here, the third, the other 3 are the same. This one's a bit smaller. We take the thread and poke it through the smaller hole. Can be a little tedious to get it through. Right, once it's through, pull a little bit out, doesn't matter how much, and pop it on the spool pin to be wound. Click this over here, so into the on position. Now we have to release the hand wheel, so we turn this counterclockwise to release it, so as it will run the winder but not the rest of the machine. Now hold on to the little pigtail that we've got coming out of here and just start and already it's wound up nicely. It's on there, you can't quite see it from that angle, but it doesn't matter. And then you can clip off this little pigtail because we don't actually need that anymore. And now wind on as much of the bobbin that we require. Pop it back off here. Take it out, and this is just for a demo, so I haven't put too much on. And snip that off. So that bobbin is ready to go. Now remember to tighten up the hand wheel and take this back off, and that bobbin is all wound and ready to roll. Threading the top of the machine. So we'll start off, we'll put the cotton onto one of these pull spins, doesn't matter which one, and then we take the thread and we poke it through this little guide here, and then we come down to the side and we'll also poke it through this guide just above the tensioner. Now I'll go in a little bit closer for the next bit. Now we go through the plates on the side here and wrap around the bottom. And as we come up, there's a little spring here. We go past that spring, just pulling it up. Now once we get to about here, you put your finger on the thread and pull it nice and tight. And you'll see here that the little thread has just gone over that loop there. That's really important. The next section I'll show you. Now the thread comes back up through this same little guide, and then through this lifter arm. There's a little hole to put it through. So you thread it through like a bit like a needle, and it comes back down again. Now as it comes back down, it goes through this little guide at the front of the machine, on the nose of the machine. It's a bit weird, isn't it? But there you go. Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned this before. You must have the foot up while you're threading. So it comes down here, and you'll see there's a little tiny thread holder there. You run it through there, and that's the last guide until we have to put it through the needle. Okay, now we have to put it through the needle. You slice off a nice sharp piece to make it a bit easier to go through the hole of the needle, the eye of the needle. And then you thread from the front of the machine through the eye and back out. Once you've done that, pull the thread through and bring it through the foot and take it to the back like that. Now putting the bobbin in goes in, you slide the plate back and we're ready to drop it in. Now it should, the thread comes on the left hand side and drop in. One more thing about this bobbin, these particular bobbins have a slight curve to their surface. They're called a Type 66 bobbin. They're not the same as the other machines. So this particular one has this curved top bobbin. So it pops in like that, just sits in there, And right down the front, you'll see there's a little bit of a hook. We go through that hook and take the thread all the way back as far as we can this way. Now once we've done that, you'll see that there's a little notch here. The thread actually comes out through that spot, and that's important to give it the right tension. Okay. Now we're ready to bring the thread up. And to do that, we just have to hold the thread on the needle and wind the hand wheel in as it goes down. And as you can see, the thread's just spinning around the front there. Once it gets to about there, around the side, we can push something through here and it'll bring both of the threads now out. And we're happy with that. It's coming through that little notch, so we can close that door. The controls on this machine are fairly straightforward. You've got the stitch length here. So as you wind that around, you can read the numbers off there. 15, 20, 10, that's the old scale of stitches per inch. So as the number gets bigger, the size of the stitch gets somewhat smaller. The other thing is to go zigzag back to and forward. Side to side, you can use this little lever here, which determines how wide the zigzag is. If you leave it on 0, it's a straight stitch. If you go across here, it starts to do the zigzagging. So we'll just leave it back here for the moment. The other thing to see on the front here is the light switch. This one here can adjust where the needle goes. At this moment it's in the center, but it can go to the left or to the right. Generally, you just leave it in the center. Let's try a little bit of sewing. Put the material under the foot, drop the foot down. You do need to hold these little cotton pieces out the back so they don't accidentally get pulled into the machine when we start. Often with these, this is a pretty old machine, you need to turn the hand wheel a little bit just to get it into the material. And that's usually enough. And once you've done that, you put your foot on the throttle, on the foot pedal, and off it goes. Once you've done your run, lift the needle up to its highest, lift the foot up, and you'd sometimes have to wiggle, but I've stopped it at the right spot this time, and then cut off the threads. I'll just show the zigzag stitch as well. So we put the piece of cloth underneath and lower the foot. Make sure we've got the tags, threads out the back, lower the foot, then adjust this width lever and I'll adjust it all the way across. Now remember, always have the needle out of the material when you're doing this because the needle moves around a little bit. So that's important. Okay, so we've made it nice and wide. We hold the little threads, put it in manually, and as you can see it's switching side to side and doing a zigzag. Again, up with the foot, pull out, and then cut it off. Cut off the threads.